So what are some bad recommendations you hear when it comes to athletes rehab sort of over the years? Is there anything that sort of sticks out that people need to be aware of?
Not using the physio and the medical staff involved in your team, probably going external to do that. The problem is that they don't have a full understanding of your training days, your coach, the coach's style that you have, the game strategy. So always go with the medical and coaching staff involved in your team. Try not to go external because mum or dad's mates are physio. But if he's not involved with the team, he doesn't understand the workload or the way that team plays.
G'day, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Just enjoying Sunday afternoon. Obviously, I haven't done my hair. That's why I put my hat on because I've been, being a bit of a grok today. How about yourself? What's been going on?
Well, my hair's gone not too bad. It is receding, but it's fine, So now going really well. We had some recovery day for the Brumbies 18s after a trip down to Melbourne, which was good, and they've bounced back quite well from that, and they got another game coming up on Wednesday. So it's been really cool to help them out with this really short program. But it's been a good Sunday to spend some time with them and teach them how to recover properly after a game. So we did some good rolling and stretching. We did a little team review, which was really good, and the coach was really positive in terms of, even though we weren't doing stuff that we should have been doing better, he was just saying, cool, this is what we're going to improve on for next game, and let's get cracking into it. And then we went to the pool afterwards as well. So it's been a good Sunday.
Yeah, fantastic. Did you fit a hot chocolate in? Because I know you don't like a coffee.
No, I didn't fit a hot chocolate in, but I got a normal chocolate milk, So that was part of the old breakfast routine.
Fantastic.
But yeah, how's the coaching going outside of Elite Rugby SandC for you?
Yeah, so obviously you've got a couple of things going on at the moment. Working with the AFP, as you know, with the special operations, so head of physical performance there. So that's a fairly busy role, lots of different things going on. Can go into a little bit of detail. Most of it I can't say a word about it. Just knowing that, they're very physical and we're trying to keep them chipping away. Best way to describe most of it is football deep in a season, and you're trying to keep everyone on the field so you'll understand the sort of programming there. And NRLW for the Raiders, we've just finished week number 5 of our preseason. So of our 28 players, so 4 of them are development. We've got, as of next week, 27 available for training. One with a calf issue and one returning from a tiny little minor hamstring. So I'm pretty happy with that because there's not having a single bit of history on any of the women coming in there. We've made it to this stage with pretty much the full team available for our last couple of weeks of preseason. So yeah, we're all ticking along nicely.
Yeah, it's really good positive signs there, and it just shows, all the experience that you do have in all the different teams that you worked with, and then coming from rugby union, all these principles, doesn't matter what sport you're playing, apply to everyone. And if you're really smart about your training and really sort of consistent with your programming as well, you're going to have people available and also people excelling in the program.
Yeah, well, good functional human biomechanics is really important. We're pretty similar that way. You need good core strength, good shoulder stability, good single leg strength, good acceleration and repeat efforts. That's all the fundamentals of being an athlete in a horizontal power sport, but applying different principles based on the game, like a lot more shuttle work, a lot more repeat speed work so that they can take advantage of attack. It's pretty exciting. First time coaching female elite athletes, fantastic experience. They're motivated, communicate really well, very mature, very inclusive with a team. It's something I probably should have done a long time ago. It's been a wonderful experience so far.
That's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to the NRLW. It's going to be a really good season to see how all this talent has spread out across the country. And it's not just sort of, you have your super teams like the Roosters and the Broncos have been quite, those super teams in the past. So, and a lot of that talent has spread out. So it'll be interesting to see how those superstar players can go into a new team and help develop that team and see if they can be successful in the NRLW this year.
Yeah, what I've found really interesting is some of the girls coming out along from rugby, like the Super Rugby W program here, but also from New Zealand, and some people that have been around the Black Fern 7s and 15s program. Watch out for them. They are serious athletes. Yeah.
And it's only a few weeks down the track the season starts, so it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, we've got a good hit out on Wednesday night. We're actually doing a scrimmage, which will probably go more into a game against the Raiders under 21s. So we're not going another NRLW team. We're going to do our trials against men, which is fantastic.
Alrighty, we'll probably get another update after that happens. But yeah, that'll be something new right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Excited about that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to bounce back from an injury, and it is a tough topic to speak about because all injuries are different. There's all different situations and pieces to the puzzle, but we're going to be trying to give you what we think as SandC coaches you need to do to bounce back from that injury and not sustain that injury again, and just give you some really good advice that you might not have heard before. So when an athlete does get injured, Ben, what are the first steps that they need to take?
Well, the first steps is it's an opportunity. Injury is always an opportunity to get better. You're either going to have an injury in the upper or lower body. Very rarely will you be ruled out of training completely unless it's a concussion or something like a spinal issue. The rest of the time, you can crack on with some serious training. So the first thing is to make sure that you follow the injury protocol that the medical staff has put in place. Next stage is to meet up with the rehab or strength and conditioning coach and then the skills coach and find out where you're deficient and create a plan to come back better in 2 or 3 areas. Just say it's a lower leg injury and you've got a shoulder problem and you've a weak core, you can't pass left to right that well. Well, this is your time to solve those problems, as well as keeping really, really well conditioned and then possibly even coming back in better condition than you left. So it's an opportunity. Sometimes at the elite level, it's the only preseason that people get that they need an injury to actually come back better and get some serious training in because they haven't got demands of games. Sorry, my dog's being crazy.
I think Skippy's just agreeing with you so much about your points that he just wants to be involved in the podcast.
Yeah, he does. He smashed in the door to come into the room. So
no, that's pretty good. But no, it's 100% agree. You really need to figure out those first steps with the rehab team and understand what's going on and understand that, it's okay to be upset when you get injured as well. Accept that you're going to be missing some training and some games and, don't just sort of look to straight away, okay, how long it's going to take me that I'm out for, just accept that that's happened and you don't really know how long it's going to take until, maybe your first few days or a first week after you've been injured. So you just got to trust the process of your strength and conditioning team and the rehab team from your physio to your doctor that they're going to give you a very broad term, if that, but don't get fixated on it. Get fixated on identifying those areas that you want to improve on, identify the rehab that needs to be done, and go out and do it. And then you'll be back really, really soon.
Yeah, it's really good that you put there, in true elite settings, you have it benchmarked, like competency. You reach a certain point, then you move forward. You reach a certain point, and you move forward. The idea of this injury takes its time. It's a rough guideline. Some people heal quicker. Some people heal slower. Sometimes your rehab goes perfectly to plan. Sometimes you have setbacks. Sometimes those setbacks are only minor little things. It's never going to be perfect or linear. Just accept that you've got to reach these markers. And most physios now are really well trained in assessment, and you've got to work with your strength and conditioning coach as well. It's not like, I've got a sore calf, I'll just turn up to training in 3 weeks and off I go. oh yeah, cool, you're pretty much going to hurt that calf again and you'll have another injury because you haven't worked on anything else. Those days are well and truly gone. If that's how you're treating an injury, or that's how your club is managing injuries, you're not going to have many players and you're not going to win finals.
100%. And what are some of those markers that you can think of the top of your head? Let's just say with a calf injury, would one of them just be, you stop getting pain when walking to begin? Is that sort of the markers that you're looking for that the physio team would sort of tick off along the way?
Yeah. So they'll look at biomechanical function, simple function. At first, it's going to be going pain. They'll make sure that they prepare that, I guess, have that injury where it can actually do the beginning stage of healing, like collagen realignment, producing a bit of new tissue there. But you start gentle work pretty quickly to align that collagen and your basically all the tissue to actually align in the correct way and function the correct way, so you don't create scar tissue that's actually limiting your performance. So you look at pain, tolerance of moving around, then you'll look at strength markers, then you'll look at like your power markers and reactive markers, and then you jump up that way. Obviously, every injury is slightly different, but yeah, they're the key benchmarks you'd be looking for. And depending on your injury, if it's a grade 1 to a grade 3, those stages are longer or shorter in each process.
But it just shows you that the physio team has those things in place for you as an athlete. So just, not communicating to them, or just not showing up for, like you said, 3 weeks and then coming back expecting to play, you're gonna be missing out on some crucial stages that need to be ticked off, and then those exercises that come along with it, and then the areas of your game that you could have been working on during that time as well. So they've got a plan in process. You need to buy into that and accept that this is the plan that's going to happen. You're going to be out for a little while, but if you do the work, you're going to come back pretty quick, and it's not going to take too long from your injury, and just do the work, really.
Yeah. So you think of 4 stages. You think injury, rehab stage, then it's return to training. Then it's from that, it's returning to performer training, which means you're actually hitting some good markers of training. Then it's returning to games, but also then it's returning to perform. So you can get someone back for a game, but if you do the right way, you're getting them back to return to perform. So when they kick off, say, their first game back, they're performing at a high level. A really good example of that was in 2020 with the Brumbies, with Noah Lolesio doing a serious hamstring injury. In fact, if he didn't do that hamstring injury the way that it happened, he would have done an ACL. His hamstring took all the load of that. So Joshy, the rehab coach, who's now had a performance for the Raiders, and for good reason, got Noah back for his very first game back, was a Super Rugby AU final. If he doesn't play, we don't win. And that's him returning from a significant tear in his hamstring. We're talking about 10 centimeters. So, and he just followed this process very religiously, did all the right things. They got him back to perform, not just to play.
100%. And I've seen that in the past as well. The medical team's probably maybe ticking people off a bit too early in, say, clubland, and the players haven't got enough time in training to sort of get back to that return to play, but then also to return to perform as well. So it's great when it's done well, and you can get back and then be able to step up in a grand final and put in an awesome performance that, like you said, if Noah didn't play, the Brumbies wouldn't have won. So it's really cool to see when the process is done right and correctly, the end outcome is what you want. And if it's rushed or not done properly, maybe Noah goes into that game and then does it again, or does it worse, or something else happens, or another injury pops up. But it's great to see that was a well-balanced program, and he was able to get through that game, and then hasn't had a hamstring injury since, I don't think. So, it's just awesome to see.
Yeah. The key part of it takes a diligent, motivated, willing athlete. You can have the best physio, the best SandC, best program. If you haven't got a willing participant as an athlete in this process, it will never go smoothly.
100%. So how do athletes stay fit and keep their skills up while they are injured? What have been some examples in your time as a coach?
Yeah, so great example is if you've got a lower leg injury, what can we do for conditioning? Well, we can do ropes, dumbbell conditioning. We can do single leg rower where you strap someone's other leg to a skateboard so that they can row, ski ergs. You can do single leg assault bikes. You can do sitting skills, so catch pass skills, hand-eye coordination. When they're able to actually use their second leg, they can do bike sessions where they're actually watching their gains as they do it, standing up doing catch pass while that's happening. If you're willing, you will always find a way. Such as upper body injuries. Well, people go, we can't run, all of that. Yes, you can. You get your hands, whatever sling it is or whatever restriction you have, you get it, put it on your hips. There's no load going through your shoulder anymore. You can run. You can definitely. So there's always a way. From day one with a shoulder injury, you can, the next day, if you want to stabilize your shoulder correctly, you can be running.
Yeah.
So, and that obviously depends on the injury, but like a small AC, you can still do that. You can still do catch pass drills, one-handed with the other hand. You can still do kicking. You can still do all the mimicking of tackle contests with just that arm really in a good position with no contact. There's no excuse. If you're not trying to find a way, or your coaching staff and yourself aren't trying to find a way, it's just a lack of motivation.
100%. There's plenty of options out there for if you have an upper or lower body injury to keep fit and keep your skills going. And, if it's an area that you need to put a bit of size on as well, there's definitely ways that you can maybe improve if you've got a lower body injury, but, it's a good time as a back to put a little bit of size or, robustness around those shoulders. Great. Let's do that as well. Again, like you said, find areas that you need to improve in your game as well. So there's plenty of things out there. I've used pretty much all those that you've said, boxing, battle ropes. If you're a club that, one club I was involved with, the gym was located in a different location to where we actually trained. It was 10 minutes down the road. Sweet. Load the car up with some boxing gear from the gym and bring some weights down and some dumbbells or have them stored at the training facility the way you go out in the field, and then use them for, that time that you have when you're back on the field. Because we used to have stuff at the gym for off season, then would bring some of it over for the preseason. So you didn't have to didn't have to bring it around all the time. So there's plenty of ways to get around it. And it's just going to come down to, are you wanting to do the work? And, if you don't have the resource of an S&C coach, then you have to really step up and take charge of your own rehab as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's, do you want to lift trophies? Do you want to play rep games? Do you want to play 100 games for your club? Or do you want to be a social player that trains every now and again? If you're that, you're probably not listening to this anyway. So you've got to find a way.
100%. So what is generally missed in an athlete's return to train and then, to return to perform program in your eyes?
In clubland, it'll be running mechanics. They're really conservative with that type of stuff. But the key part in probably all programs is, and I'll direct this carefully, at the coaching staff and the skills coaches don't get involved and actually participate in skills early on. Like, that's the key part, the actual skills component being done in your rehab from an early stage, rather than you're just in rehab, you're running and lifting and doing off-feet conditioning. No, you should be doing skills, and the coaching staff should be there helping you and being part of it. That's the biggest bugbear at all levels, would be the coaching staff not being part of the rehab process.
And you probably would be surprised how early you can fit players back into some of those drills. If it's just literally a basic catch pass that you're doing at the start of training, that might be something that they can do quite easily, or that might be a challenging thing for them to do, but it's in such a controlled environment that it's not going to put any more stress on that athlete, but it's also going to give them a good opportunity to get back within the team and then continue doing their skills. And then, just looking out to training when athletes can join in. Sweet. Go out there and join that drill. You've ticked off all these boxes because you've been bought into the program and you're ticking all the milestones that we need in your rehab stuff. Sweet. You can go do that drill, but you can't do this drill. You need to come back to see us, and we'll do it in a more controlled environment. And for me, another one would be, contact. I've seen it many times where it's just been missed, or it hasn't been really specific to what the athlete needs to get their confidence back up, and then also to check off that milestone as well for that injury. So I feel like some players are sort of rushed back into contact situations quite quickly, and you sort of just hold your breath. You're like, oh shit, are they going to hurt themselves again, or is they're good to go? And that, you don't want that. You want to be able to allow that play just to return, and then they excel doing the contact at training, and then they can go do that out on a game as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a really good point around the contact, and that's where a good SNC coach is usually doing the contact as well. That's why sometimes it can be a young person's game, because you'll have to do some tackling, and getting tackled as an SNC coach sometimes.
100%. And again, you'll be surprised how early you can start doing some return to contact stuff. You can be at 50%, and it can just be, approach into the tackle. It doesn't have to be you physically actually tackling someone. It's the approach. It's getting all those basic skills. That fits into the skills program. It's not just catching and passing a ball as well. It's doing the other things that a rugby athlete needs to do as well. So you'll be surprised on how early you can start doing skills training of a ball. And you can also be surprised how early you can start doing some return to contact at a walking pace, or just a really basic low intensity.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. The tracking component of a tackle, the basically the change of direction component pre-contact, making all those sharp things going on with, and then a graded return to, semi-contact, padded contact, controlled contact, into unpredictable contact would be the approach.
100%. And another one that's probably generally missed is, athletes running hard. Are you actually allowing them to get to a certain level that they can run hard and run fast, and then go do that in training, and then go do that out in a game as well? If you're not really achieving those intensities and speeds, and you're only getting up to around 80, 85%, are they actually ready to return to play and return to perform out in the field?
Yeah, it might be a return to play, but you're not at return to perform, are you? And you're at potential return to risk, where you want to have, those high risk things ticked off in training to give that person confidence, so when they go out there, they're making really good decisions and choices on their ability, not, I won't chase that down, it's going to lead to a try because I haven't done any sprinting. That's not a good result.
And you just want them to be able to just do what their instincts are. I'm going to go chase that ball. That's what I want to do. Go chase that person down. You don't want them to second guess and have that afterthought or that second thought in their head that something's going to go wrong. You say, no, you've done the work. You're ready to go. Go out there and play. Just go out. Don't think too much. Just go out and see what you can do out there.
Yeah. I think another one is, and you've mentioned this, is change of direction. Going from controlled, predicted, to reactive, and then decision-making, change of direction. That's something that gets missed as well.
And you can put that sort of spice into the change of direction pretty easily during warm-ups, and just little areas that the athlete doesn't know that they're doing it, but that they're doing it. So there's plenty of things that you can do there to make them sort of just react and not, think, oh shit, how do I align my body up to then change direction? And then, oh no, something else is not feeling well. So again, you just have to sort of use your imagination in that area, and there's plenty of drills out there that you can do that. And again, it's just about building the athlete's confidence up, and then making sure they're getting appropriate change of direction, because can't change direction, then you're just log out in the field, really, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've really covered that. That's really good information. That's fantastic.
Hi, everyone. We just want to take a quick break from this episode. We hope you're enjoying this episode so far and all the content we have produced. We appreciate all the support from our listeners and followers so far. If you haven't already, sign up to Elite Rugby SandC blog today. You'll find our website link in our bio below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share Elite Rugby SandC on all social media platforms to all your family and friends. Thanks again for all your support, and now back to the episode.
So as an athlete, and even as a coach, should I just focus on the rehab exercises for the athlete and, forget about all the other gym stuff, or should it be a mixed balance between the two?
I think we probably know the answer to this question.
Well,
No, you should be doing all of your normal, regular exercises that you can potentially modified in a really good strength and conditioning program, similar to our programs that we sell. Part of what you do is you prehab exercises anyway. So there's two reasons why. Let's talk about a shoulder and doing an external raise exercise, which is your classic rotator cuff. I can't say the word today. Exercise. Why do we put that in the program? A, it strengthens the shoulder and gives good stability. B, if you play rugby, or rugby league or any contact sport, you will hurt your shoulder at some stage. You will be driving your shoulder into someone. You're either going to get bruises around that. You're going to get an AC niggle. You might even get a knock on the collarbone. You will have a shoulder thing that you've got to look after. Straight away, we don't have to teach you a basic rehab exercise because you already know how to do that. That's why you do prehab as well, so that when you do have issues, you have already mastered the rehab exercise, and then we can give you're currently at 50% of your external rotation compared to your normal. So straight away, we have a strength performance outcome as well. We know where you're at. So what are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I think I've seen it in a current role that I'm in now, is where, athletes are training, they've been injured, and they're just solely focused on doing those rehab exercises, and they've had around, 6 to 8 exercises to help, let's just say a hamstring, for example, and it's solely focused on that, which I'm like, sweet, cool. The good thing about it is I get those exercises and then I can sprinkle them into their program. It was just before that was the sole focus when they were at training on a Tuesday night in the gym. They weren't doing anything else. There wasn't much doing conditioning at the time, just because they were a bit afraid that they might hurt it, or they're saying, no, the physio said I just need to do this and that's it. I'm like, cool, but remember, you got to come back and perform and be able to train. And these boys are running hard out here now. So are you going to be able to keep up with them when you come back? So when you do get your rehab exercises, it's integrating them into your current strength conditioning program that's already going to be modified to what the injury that you have. So you're still going to be doing all your strength stuff and power to, a certain degree, and plenty of trunk stuff as well. It's just we're going to sprinkle those exercises in, but we also got to remember that it's a whole system that we're trying to prepare and, keep robust and resilient while building up that injured area. Because you can come back from an ankle injury and you'll be sweet, but then maybe next week when you come back to train, you get a tight left hamstring, and then you can't really get that tightness out of it, and you miss this week's game that just occurred because that just literally happened this week for an athlete. And it's like, cool, but you didn't, do some of these other exercises for the rest of the body. You're solely focused on that ankle injury and not focused on what else could happen if you come back. So yeah, that would be my thing for it, is making sure that you sprinkle those exercises throughout the program, keep training hard, because you're going to bounce back from this injury. It's just, you don't know when your next injury is going to occur. And if it does occur, you don't want it to be something that keeps you out for long. You want it to be, nipped in the butt straight away, and then you can go back and keep playing the sport that you love.
Absolutely. And then the biggest predictor of injury is an old injury. The biggest predictor of a new injury is a training spike. So going from no training, say in a rehab setting, to going back to normal training. And injury in a new area is because you haven't conditioned that area while you've been rehabbing. So it's so predictable, this stuff. It's amazing. So if they don't do that, they're going against common knowledge.
100%. And that's where that integrated approach that you've been talking about comes into play. It's the SNC and physio working together to tick off all the boxes that they need to see before the athlete can then return to train, return to play, and then return to perform as well. So you really got to make sure that you got that balance between the two, and you're not doing one more than the other, because if you're too far in the rehab area, you might miss some things. But then if you're pushing the athlete too hard, you might not respect those milestones that they need to hit along the way.
Yeah, really good summary. Really good point.
I'm pretty good at it, so don't worry. Are there any strategies to, prevent re-injury in the future that you think need to be set?
Yeah. So let's talk about your sport at the moment. You're doing Aussie rules. What are the most predictable injuries? What will happen usually?
So most injuries that you'll probably see out there is either a groin or a hamstring, to be honest, and even an AC joint as well.
Yep. So let's talk about the groin and hamstring. What are the key things that lead to that?
It would be running mechanics for some of them, but it would just be sort of the spikes in training loads because, Tuesday and Thursday is quite different. And depending the game, they could have run 10 Ks and then next week they're running 14 Ks. So that little spike in training load is immense and, just not recovering from training and games. So they're fatigued and haven't really, best prepared themselves for the next training or game.
Yep. And what do you do as an SandC coach apart from manipulating load, which you are doing, and suggestion? Outside of that, how do you mitigate some of that risk? Because you can't fully prevent it, but how do you mitigate that?
Mitigate the risk by making sure you have a good relationship with your athletes to let them know that, hey, I'm feeling a little bit, underdone from the weekend or something like that. And then that's where you can easily change and suggest some things to them. It's adding in some banded exercises before you actually start your warm-up. So the boys at Aussie Rules have, a few things that they got to tick off. So some banded glute walks, some banded RDLs, and just basic stuff that is just getting some extra, stimulus into that area because it is quite cold, down here in Canberra as well. So you really got to make sure they're not just going straight into kicking a footy or doing those explosive movements, that they're having some extra time to warm up. And then it's also giving them some good options throughout the week in their gym program. And then making sure if they're feeling a bit flat, how about, you have Wednesday off. Instead of doing an upper body session or something like that, you go do some extra recovery during the week as well, in which they do have their recovery protocol as well.
Perfect. Sounds like you're all over it. You've got a plan there, and they've got a knowledge, and you're seeking a good relationship and building trust with the athletes, and they're the ones that are doing it are trusting the advice and the process, and they're probably getting success. And the other team members that haven't been following that and then see the other people, they'll go, oh, they're actually going quite well. I'll take that on now. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, it did happen so we've had in the last week just some grade 1 hamstring tightness. None of them have torn their hamstrings, just tightness. And one of the boys was the ankle injury coming back, and I think he came back a bit too early. And Unfortunately, that wasn't my call to make. It's just unfortunate that this hamstring tightness did occur, but he'll be back next week. And then another boy who has been doing the program not as consistent as I would like, and he's been going off a gym program that his friend's been writing down in Melbourne, who's an SandC coach, but very young in the space. And for me, it wasn't attacking the player and be like, why weren't you doing the program? Come on, this is the reason why, and all that stuff. It was understanding, sweet, I'm glad you're getting some advice from a friend that you think is really reliable. What else do they do in the program for you? And I found out more cool. It's just a push-pull. I don't really do legs, that much during the week. I was like, sweet, how about we just, you start following Monday's program, which it's a whole body of focus, but you just do the lower body stuff just once a week. And that would be enough to tick all the boxes that I need from you. And then how about you try these core exercises? So we went off and did some banded power-offs and a band around the worlds, which are staple exercises in all the programs me and you pretty much do. And he's like, wow, this is a really good way to engage my core. I was like, I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, they're very basic. And, the other boys in first grade have been doing this all year long. And you can see that they're, performing quite well out in the field there. And, then just going to some basic run tech. And he's like, wow, I can actually feel my six-pack working. And then my hips are in a better position, which is taking some load off the hamstring. So for some players, it's sort of, they got to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of being in clubland in terms of, with amateur athletes, and there's 70 athletes out there across the grades. So not everyone's going to buy into the program, but when they do, that was an opportunity to me to be an educational piece to that person and now they've bought into the program, and I'm going to help them the best that they can, and they can continue to still do the stuff from their friend. It's adding in the knowledge that I know that's going to help them as well.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. That's like for say someone in their 20s. That's from you. That's a real sign of maturity and not letting your ego get in the way. A lot of young coaches would get upset and grumpy with them, and why aren't you following them? And then they'd lose them. You've actually gained that, and you can see it a little bit to gain a lot. So that's fantastic. Really good job.
It's hard though. Like you really just want to be like, why the hell weren't you doing the program in the first, but you really just got to bite your tongue and just listen more than you talk. And it can be quite hard for coaches at times, but you'll find out some stuff more about your athletes, and it could be a great way to better grow that relationship with them.
Yeah. And to receive trust, you've got to give trust.
Yeah.
And you're trusting them that they'll come around and that they can come to you no matter, how silly or differently they're thinking. At least they're coming to you to ask advice first. So that's really good.
And then you also get some other comments. Like last night, one of the boys was saying to me, apparently my pipes were looking, spectacular out in the field when I was making marks and stuff. You're like, that's why you do the job, to make sure people's pipes are looking good in some photos.
Yeah. We used to call it supplement sponsors. So, cool, we need the powerful, play good footy, but you've got to look good in a singlet. Otherwise, we won't have a sponsor for our protein and our pre-trainer and all of that type of stuff. So, yeah, it was one of those sessions.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that you keep your social media and image accounts happening.
Yeah, 100%. So one question that I did have, but we've pretty much covered it, is, doing contact training heading into full training. Then it's part of your responsibility as, the SandC coach and the rehab team is to expose that athlete to some contact training before they head straight into full training, because those other athletes are just going to go hard and they've been doing it for, however long. So you got to really make sure that you've got a return to contact protocol in place, and they're ticking the boxes off and earning the right to go back to full training, not just because they've got no pain and, they're quite strong in that area now. It's earning the right to go back to that full contact training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've definitely delved into that, and I couldn't agree more. I couldn't add anything to that. That's good.
So what are some bad recommendations you hear when it comes to athletes rehab sort of over the years? Is there anything that sort of sticks out that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. You think old school trainers that you've got a cork, I'll rub it out. It's like, mate, you don't do that. That's not a very good idea. Then there's also, just rest, mate, for a few weeks, then come back. You've got a lot of residual fatigue, and we just want you to, what does that mean? The other one would be not using the physio and the medical staff involved in your team, probably going external to do that. The problem is that they don't have a full understanding of your training days, your coach, the coach's style that you have, the game strategy. So always go with the medical and coaching staff involved in your team. Try not to go external, because mum or dad's mates are physio. But if he's not involved with the team, he doesn't understand the workload or the way that team plays. What's some of yours?
Yeah, for me, I couldn't agree more with that last one, because it just makes so much sense. Communicate with and work with the people that you got. If they are just really, really, really poor at what they do, then seek external help. But they don't know what you're doing, and they don't know what's required if they're not in there at training. For me, it would be, just strap it up and it'll be right. That's not the way to go with the strapping tape. Strapping tape only really helps for around 15 minutes, and then it loses all its tension in that tape, and then it's just a piece of clothing, really. So strapping it up is really more for that, extra confidence type stuff, and to give you some stability at the start. But basic ankle taping, it's going to go after 15-20 minutes of all the running and moving that you're doing. So by the end of training or end of the game, it's really not doing anything. So I think for me, it's more like, that strapping it up and she'll be right type of mentality that definitely needs to go.
Yeah, some tape is really good. So taping your AC joints and putting pads over them, that helps.
That helps.
Yeah, tape is the greatest psychological tool you can ever have for people. And the other thing is, just say you've got like a lateral ligament on an ankle where that's overstretched and doesn't work. It can help in that situation for a lot longer. But generally, what you're saying is you're strapping up their psychology rather than their joints.
And then it's always interesting to see those athletes as well, once they've come back from an injury, how long they keep strapping their knee. So I remember Ben Sapel talking about Rob Valentini. Like, Rob Valentini hasn't hurt his knee in a very long time, but he loves getting his knee strapped because of, I guess, that psychological benefit that it has for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and it becomes part of the game day ritual as well. So
yeah, it's the same with Brian To'o, for the Panthers. He hasn't had a knee injury for a while, and he gets his knee strapped every time. So some athletes just like it, and if tape's not too expensive for your club, then why not? But if tape is quite expensive, then you'd be talking to those players 1 or 2 years later, like, do you really need that area strapped? I think you're pretty good to go.
Yeah, I've been at some clubs where not professional, but they go, okay, this is the price for this strapping. Everyone gets better really quickly.
Well, 100%. Yeah, it's tape is very expensive for club teams, and you'd just be surprised, if you got something wrong with you. You're like, oh yeah, can you again, to that mentality, can you just strap it up? You're like, do you actually really need to get it strapped up, or you just need to go stretch it out and roll it a little bit? Like, who knows?
Yep. I had to give my dog the ball again. He's like totally obsessed.
He loves it, Skippy. So last question of the day, and this comes from a question from a book that I'm reading with Tim Ferriss, so Tribe of Mentors. It's a really good book, and he just asks 11 questions to a whole bunch of different professionals who might be writers, they might be DJs, they could be actors, they could be sports stars. And, I'm going to start putting these questions into the questions that, I talk with Ben on the podcast, to our guests, and even some of the videos that we have on YouTube as well. So if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, like, what would you want to have on that billboard for millions or billions of people to see? And why would you want that saying on there as well?
I've probably got two. We'll do the first one first. It's, don't beat yourself up. That's life's job. And that's when it comes to yourself, really try and be an advocate for you and understand and forgive yourself when you make mistakes or mess up, and understand that you don't have to beat yourself up psychologically. You have to build yourself up and look after yourself, because it's life's job to try and break you down. But your job is to support yourself so that you can support others.
Yeah. What was the second one? Was that both of them?
Second one would be, don't be afraid of mistakes. People that are trying make mistakes. People that aren't trying don't make any mistakes.
No, I like that. It's really good. For me, I have two, again, the same as you, but the first one, this is something that's sort of popped into my mind the last 3 weeks. And if I'm going to sum it up, it's focus on your team. And it comes back to you as the team, not focusing too much on what the opposition are doing. It's really focusing on what you can do during that week leading up to the game. And for us, say if you got a program, let's just say for rugby, and you got a little bit of time to prep, say the preseason, and then you really just focused on that one team and the last time that they smashed you, and you keep bringing that up, it's just not good for anyone. And you're constantly reminding the team that you were shit the last time you played them. People don't want that. You really got to make sure that you can focus on your team and you're doing the work and identifying areas that you can excel in on the game, but it's really focusing on you, because I forget what I was going to say before, but like before this podcast, I had a really good analogy that I was going to use, but it happens all the time, it seems. But the opposition's coming out to beat you. Like, they're focusing on you, so don't focus on them. Focus on what you can do the work, and then you're really going to get the rewards for it. I just really think if you focus too much on them, you're focusing on things that you can't really control. So that would be the first one.
Yep.
And then second one is, have fun along the way. Don't take yourself too seriously. Have some fun when you can and enjoy it, because the process is hard to winning games, and there's many losses in between them as well, and there's many ups and downs and mistakes. But if you can have fun along the way, it's going to make the process so much more enjoyable, and you're going to create a really good environment and team around you.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. A lot of gym sessions, all of that. My first thing that I always say, I want you to work hard. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to whistle while you work. You think of, the 7 Dwarfs, they're off whistling while they're working and they're just having fun. You've got to, while you work hard, you've got to have fun, because then you start mentally associating hard work as being fun. So you've got to trick yourself into going, I enjoy this work because it's fun. So you've got to make it fun as well.
100%. And if you're the SNC coach as well, you don't have to be this the serious coach all the time. You can be the one that instigates this fun as well, and lighten up the mood in those gym sessions. Or if the players just got a spray from the head coach for some reason, and they come see you in the gym, you can change that mood that they've not coming in, being super sad and upset and just angry. You can change that mood and put a better spin onto it as well. And because if you're really hard on them as well, it's just a double negative, and it's just not good for anyone. So you really can be the instigator to bring some fun in and bring some games in and lighten up the mood and bring something different to the team and also to the coaching team as well.
Yeah, exactly. I used to fine people for not smiling in the gym. Hey, you're not smiling. You're gonna have to do something as a penalty.
Yeah. So instead of a swear jar, it's a smiling jar.
Yeah. Wait, you're not enjoying yourself here? Come over here. I'll make you not enjoy it. Just mucking around of yourself.
Yeah, 100%. But that's all the questions I got today. So thanks for joining me, Ben. It's been really fun to talk about the rehab area, and hopefully people gotten some good information from this. And it's been good to get you back on the podcast. It has been a few weeks since you've been back. Been like on the podcast, so it's great to have you back, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, well, you've had some absolute stars and some really good podcasts, so I'm happy to be the bread between the really good fillings that people on the podcast. Happy to help.
Yeah, it's definitely one way to put it.
Yeah, thank you.
Easy done. Thanks, Ben.
Catch ya. See ya.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Elite Rugby SandC podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and rate Elite Rugby SandC on Spotify and YouTube, and make sure you follow us on Instagram. Sign up to Come a Beast via the link in the description or via Instagram page. Also, don't wait, make that good decision and join Elite Rugby SandC today and take your game to the next level.